Pops, a devastating hurricane, Ian, as we all know, rampaged the state of Florida. We now have thousands, potentially tens of thousands of flooded vehicles that are no longer going to be drivable by consumers or sellable by car dealerships. What is the state of this situation? What is it going to do to used car prices? Should we expect trade-in values to go up, car prices to go up? What's your read on the room?
The storm, as you say, was devastating. It produced a 500-year flood in some parts of Florida, and the damage will be just astronomical. I mean, off the charts. The amount of cars that will have been lost due to this storm will negatively impact what we have seen happening, I believe, on the wholesale side of things as to what dealers were paying for pre-owned cars at the auction. We have seen for the last 9 weeks about a 1% drop in wholesale values across the board week over week.
For used cars.
For used cars. And certain subsets of used cars, there hasn't been that type of decline. And certain subset of used cars actually haven't declined.
But as a market, yeah.
But as a market as a whole. And prior to that, we had seen several weeks of much smaller declines in wholesale prices. I would think because of the storm that there's going to be such a strong need for used cars in Florida.
And Georgia probably too.
And Georgia and South Carolina, perhaps even North Carolina, but in particular in Florida, that I think that trend of wholesale prices going down it's going to end and it's going to spike up. I think not this week, but next week we'll probably see an increase in wholesale values that are being paid by dealers at the auctions, especially for the Florida dealers who are going to need to replenish their used car inventory that was damaged or lost during the storm. And for those customers whose cars will be totaled by their insurance companies who will find themselves in the market for a car. So the decline in wholesale values that we've seen, I think, will come to an abrupt end. The slight softening that we've seen in used car asking prices, or the negotiability of used car asking prices, especially in the Southeast, I think that will go away. I think there's going to be a shortage of decent cars. Scarcity means higher prices typically. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing used car prices and values going back up again for at least the near term.
Thinking about getting auto insurance? Compare quotes from all the major carriers in one place. Join YAA.com/insurance. It's quick, easy, and no spam.
Couple questions for you.
Yes.
Is this, is this regional? Is this nationwide? How long, and it's not how long, at what values are people going to get paid out by their insurance companies? Like, used car prices have been all over the place. So are people really going to get made whole? Is it going to be less? Is it going to be more? And a third question, if I'm in the market to buy a car in Florida in the next month, 2 months, how do I make sure I don't get a flooded vehicle?
Well, let's start in the reverse. Okay, so you would want to get a pre-purchase inspection done on any pre-owned car, but especially after a major weather event that we've had in Florida. So a pre-purchase inspection would be able to let you know whether or not a vehicle has been in floodwaters. I think this will be a temporary pricing increase?
Insurance.
Okay.
Are people going to get paid out on their insurance? At what point? Because if it was 6 months ago, they'd be getting paid out at some ridiculous value. Like, how do...
It depends on whether or not they have replacement value in their insurance policy. If their insurance policy has a replacement value, well, then the insurance companies are going to have to pay what it takes to replace the vehicle. If you don't have replacement value, then the insurance companies might look at it as they have access to the same wholesale data that we have. They can see that the wholesale values had been going down for the last 3 months.
Yep.
And so that could be reflected in the offer that they make you. And as far as do I think it's going to be nationwide or localized, I think it'll probably be to a certain degree national, because the dealers from the Southeast are going to have to go all over the country in order to buy cars for their lots, to find vehicles that they can get, so that they can replenish their inventories in Florida. So that will have an impact on a national level, because if dealers from the Southeast are traveling to California to look at cars, or Las Vegas to look at cars, or the Northwest to look at cars, because that's where they have to go to find cars, well, that's going to impact pricing everywhere.
Yeah, it really, really will. I mean, we're looking at likely, I'll say conservatively, 10,000 new car buyers in the Florida market at least. There's probably more that are now in the market to buy a vehicle. And the inventory that's available has already been scarce.
Yes.
We've known that for 2 years now.
Yes.
And it's probably exacerbated by a lot of dealer vehicles that couldn't make it to, quote, higher ground and are also probably salvaged and getting paid up. I agree with you. I think we're looking at a nationwide influx in wholesale price values. Does that last for the remainder of this year? Probably not. To me, this feels like a bit of a spike and then come back down to reality, because there will be a spike in demand. The continued lack of supply drive prices up, but then it comes back down.
Yeah, and the reason it might come back down, and this is just pure speculation, is because we've already seen a softening of demand prior to this.
Yeah.
The intended consequences of what the Fed has been doing was to slow consumer demand, slow consumer spending. And we've seen that across the board in the auto industry. New car sales are down, used car sales are down. The rising interest rates have dampened consumer enthusiasm when it comes to buying another new or pre-owned car. So a natural disaster, such as what we've seen in Florida, will give us a temporary spike in people in the market who otherwise would not have been in the market. And once those people's needs are satisfied, then we'll probably fall back to where we were headed, which is what the Fed had wanted to see happen, which hopefully will slow down inflation.